Yo, what's good, YouTube? It's boardzy, and these are going to be my first impressions of the new GPX Superlight 2 DEX after a day of use. I got 2 units, as you can see. I wanted to go in as fast as possible, then they both showed up on the same day. So I actually did some modding on the white unit, got that down to 53 grams just by simply removing the stock skates and the power play magnets, a trick as old as time. But I actually do think this kind of messes up just the weight balancing and the total feeling despite being a bit lighter. And yeah, it's a good segue into the shape and weight of the mouse. Weight-wise, it's advertised at 60 grams, but both of my units came in stock 58 grams with the puck. So they're below their weight estimate, it seems. And this, for an ergo, it just feels very light, well balanced. I would even recommend doing the mods I did because it just takes away some weight from the back of the mouse. I just don't feel like you really gain anything. You're going to have just a stable, comfortable experience, at least in my opinion, with my hands on the DEX just out of the box. Obviously, Logitech stock skates, they leave a lot to be desired. I would recommend swapping those out, but it's of course not the exact same as the Superlight skates. So yeah, you can either wait for companies to release replacements or put on some dot skates like I did. This is a very high IQ dot placement, might go over a few of your heads. Weight-wise, it's really hard to complain about this. It's literally lighter than the Superlight despite being a much larger shell, bulkier, making more contact with your palm, so it's just going to lead to a less dense kind of hollow feeling when you're moving it around. It's just very good. It's of course not the lightest ergo on the market. The lightest ergo, like full size mouse without any holes I can think of, is the Lamzu Thorn, coming in below 50 grams, and you can see once again the DEX is going to be a larger mouse than that. And yeah, you can really pick up on the differences between these mice when you look at them from the bottom, because the top view, it is kind of deceptive. And what Logitech does, and I find very unique, is just how thin this mouse gets at the front, and it doesn't have an aggressive flare outwards towards the top of the mouse. So it does feel effectively on the right side especially very flat, a lot of room to place your fingers, but on both sides it flares out a lot and just can kind of like capture your entire palm. This is one of maybe the most natural shapes I've ever felt to just like plop my hand on. Compared to the Death Adder and just EC style shapes, you notice that they just don't have like any flaring for your thumb or any type of significant flare compared to this. And yeah, if you look at the DEX next to the Zowie EC2, you'll notice that the DEX is once again higher, does not have the exact same hump placement, and also does not slope down as aggressively, leading to a higher profile feeling in the back of your palm. Another thing on a similar note to the sides that I mentioned before, you see they just don't flare out, like they're not slanted at all. It's very flat towards the top of the mouse. Of course, if you're like curling your fingers, you are going to have a bit more of a curved side experience, but with Zowie, it's just a much more like angled side. As you can see, my fingers don't feel like they sit as flat. These are just differences I notice, and I kind of just prefer the high profile bulky nature of the DEX. Build quality wise, I have nothing to complain about. This is like solid Logitech sidewall integrity. On this unit I took apart and put back together. Nothing really to note. I didn't take any pictures because I'm a fucking idiot mouse reviewer. Yeah, I think you can expect the same level of quality that like the Superlight series always has. I know some people are like, oh, Logitech mice have shitty quality, but I mean, I've just never experienced a single creak. The worst issue I had was like battery rattle, but they did change up the design on that, so that should no longer be an issue. Build quality is good. All of the click quality is solid. The side buttons are unfortunately the same like mushy style of button. They are much larger, as you can see, but the positioning on mouse 4 especially is just really fucking high up. It hasn't been impossible for me to play Fortnite, but I just don't find it like, I don't know, G703 had maybe the largest side buttons ever conceived on a mouse, and the positioning was just a little bit more approachable. I guess, I mean, it's not too out of the ordinary for an ergo mouse, but yeah, I definitely find the side buttons on something like the Death Adder V3 Pro easier to hit, but keep in mind, I have only had this mouse for a day. Side button positioning is grip style dependent, and maybe I'll adjust to them, but out of the box, that is something I noticed. The clicks, these are incredible. I'm not going to lie. These are Logitech's optical switches, what are called, the light force switches, perhaps, and these are much lighter than like early batches of the GPX 2. I've used this mouse so much that the clicks have gotten light and they just feel kind of normal for me, but immediately once I got the DEX, I was like, wow, these are much lighter, just a snappier, faster version of Logitech's optical switch. There is a little bit of side-to-side play, but nothing I found concerning in game. And yeah, I'll do a quick sound test of all the switches. And yeah, I know it's going to seem like I'm shilling the switches, but I would say as of now, this is the best optical implementation I've ever felt. I actually, when I got this mouse, I went and picked up my GPX one because I was convinced they fucking tricked us and just put mechanicals in. Like, these are a very good click. They're not heavy whatsoever. I heard that's what the recent batches of the GPX2 have as well. So click-wise, it's very good. I don't know what there is to complain about. I don't find there to be any issues with like the amount of pre-travel, and there's very minimal room for post-travel, as you can see. So I'll keep track of how the clicks hold up, but I would say so far like just 10 out of 10 in terms of just spammability, sharpness, but without being heavy. But yeah, it is kind of unfortunate to see the side buttons just use the same style of switch be a bit mushy. There's definitely a lot of post-travel with that mouse 4, as you can see. So I wouldn't say a side button experience is a 10 out of 10, but just all in all, a day into using this mouse, everything is pretty much clicking for me. The coating is also extremely good. It's very like grippy, rubberized, but it's not moist or wet in the way that Razer's recent coatings are, like even Zowie's coating kind of is. And again, I haven't put this through a lot of wear and tear. Maybe it gets different as it's exposed to sweat for like months on end, but out of the box, it's just a very dry top tier coating. Logitech was early to the party when it came to coatings. I don't think there's a difference between my two units. If anything, I would say the pink one is a little bit more grippy, but I feel like that would maybe just be like misinformation. So I'm going to say they're the same. It's not like the Viper V3 Pro where there's a clear as day difference. What else changed with this mouse? I mean, I guess the sensor is a thing to talk about. So this is using the same Hero 2 sensor as the GPX2, but they have updated the specs on it. You now get up to 888 inches per second of tracking. I don't even know what it was before. I feel like that's not even the real number. They're just like, nobody's gonna fucking move their mouse 800 inches a second, so this sounds cool and we're gonna say it. They also made the DPI go up to 44,000. But yeah, in real use, are you going to notice a difference between the sensor, this and the GPX2? No, I also think they're running the same firmware now. But yeah, it's a top tier sensor implementation, but I will say I heard some people reporting that it's not tracking well on glass pads. I haven't had an opportunity to really test that yet, but I did run this with gaming mode turned off, and that just felt awful on my Hien. So I turned that right back on. I know it's not like intense sensor analysis, but you know, it's a fucking Logitech mouse. The wireless is going to be reliable and solid, maybe not if you're using a glass pad. I'll obviously test the sensor on a wider variety of surfaces when I post my full review. But yeah, that's about all I have to say for now regarding the DEX. Battery life, my units combined to go down 10% in the first day. Logitech on 2 and 4K hertz mostly. It did not bother with 8K, though that is a possibility. But yeah, the big takeaway is that this is a new Logitech G innovation. We got an ergo from Logitech. It's not a G703 clone, but it's actually a unique ergo design from Logitech. It's not an EC clone. It's close to the Lamzu Thorn. It's not close to the Vaxi Outset AX, but I will, of course, compare it to more shapes. Let me know in the comments if there's any direct comparisons you guys want to see. But I could definitely see this being one of my top ergos, potentially even like my favorite ergo on the market. But yeah, that's going to be all for this video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Let me know any questions you have or want to see answered in the full review. But yeah, Logitech made a new shape. That does not happen every day. An ergo, very shocking. But yeah, that's all. Peace out.